Hello and welcome back to Chris Talks. In today's very special episode, we have an exclusive interview with the most alienated philosopher in the Enlightenment period. It is the one and only Thomas Hobbes. Thanks for being here.
You're lucky I'm here. I'm a very busy man, you know.
Right. So, we don't have much time for this interview, so let's get right into it. So, Mr. Hobbes, tell us a little bit about your life prior to becoming the philosopher you are today.
Sure. Firstly, I was born on the 5th of April, 1588, in Westport, adjoining Malmesbury. It was a very nice little town, with a small population, only around 1,100 people.
1,100 people sounds like a lot. Was it a large town, or were you all packed together?
Well, if you would let me finish, I could explain. As I was saying, it was a decent-sized town, enough room for everyone to fit comfortably. My father was the vicar of our local parish. However, he was disgraced due to a scandal involving a fight in front of his parish. I was being taught from a young age about the nature of people. This event truly showed me how cruel people can be.
So, what happened?
My father was driven out of town, and I was forced to stay with my uncle. He was well off, so he was able to send me to Oxford for an education. Not much notable happened during my years getting an education, but in 1608 I began tutoring a man named William Cavendish.
Wasn't he the first Earl of Devonshire?
Would you please let me finish? He was indeed the first Earl of Devonshire. With my connections, the Cavendish family, I became very involved with the matters of the king, parliament, and the wealthy upperclassmen. I got so close to their family that in 1610 I travelled with William to Italy, France, and Britain, Germany. I met many great philosophers, such as Francis Bacon and Ben Jonson.
I'm sure you and William got very close on your travels.
Indeed we did it. Unfortunately, William died in 1628, leading me to tutor his cousin, Sir Charles Cavendish. In my time tutoring Charles, I ended up writing my first manuscript in 1631, titled A Short Tract on First Principles.
So, was that meant to be published, or not?
Well, many people get that and another manuscript of mine mixed up. That one was meant to be published. However, my first writing on political science, the elements of law, natural, and politic, was not meant to be published.
Now, I know you wrote at least one other book, but how many books did you write?
Oh, I wrote many books. Some of my best were Leviathan, or the Matter, Form, and Power of a Commonwealth, Ecclesiastical and Civil, Omega Decisive, and Behemoth. All of these books talk about political science, human nature, and the idea of a social contract, which I'm sure you'll ask me to.
Well then, was there anything else notable about your life outside of philosophy?
Well, the biggest influence to my beliefs were the English Civil Wars. These are the best examples I could give of how cruel, petty, greedy, and selfish people are by nature.
Okay, we're going to take a short break before we continue with this interview. Stay tuned, folks, because the best is coming up after the break. And we're back. We'll now be diving into the deep end of philosophy, namely human nature, government, and what the heck a social contract is. So, we'll start with the easy stuff first. What is the nature of humans?
Well, as I briefly mentioned before, I believe that humans are naturally cruel, selfish, and greedy.
So, you think that all people are cruel, selfish, and greedy?
No, that is not what I said. I said that the natural state of humans. People can be good, but if they succumb to their natural state, they will be cruel, selfish, and greedy.
You are a part of the Church of England, right? Doesn't that go against the beliefs of the church?
Well, yes, I am part of the church, but it was not really my choice. I was forced into the church even though I did not agree with many of their ideals.
So were you kind of alienated by the church then?
Well, since a majority of people were a part of the Church of England, I was alienated by many people. They were too optimistic to see the true intentions of humans.
And what are those true intentions?
The human race naturally seek to dominate each other and demand respect. This is a reflection of the three main reasons of conflict: competition, distrust, and glory.
So does our nature reflect anything in our natural state?
Oh, so I won't have to explain that concept. Okay, well, due to the conflicts and intentions of people, natural condition of mankind is a state of war in which life is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, because individuals are in a war of all against all. In this natural state, individuals have a natural right to do whatever they believe is necessary to preserve their lives, meaning that moral or legal obligations do not apply if an action is for the good of the person doing that action.
Alright, so next I'd like to ask what a social contract is.
Well, the social contract is basically an agreement among the members of society to cooperate for social benefits. Due to the cruel and greedy nature of people, I believe that the social contract should be the masses trading their liberty for the safety and order of society. Also, I believe that liberty is overvalued in traditional political philosophy and popular opinion due to its invitation to conflicts and a war of every man against every man.
So then what would the ideal government look like?
Well, that's simple really. An absolute monarchy in which the people give up all their liberty in exchange for order. The only reason the people would be allowed to revolt is if their lives were being threatened.
Just for anyone who might not know, could you tell us what you mean by an absolute monarchy?
Well, for the two people who don't know, one of which probably being you, an absolute monarchy, the sovereign power holds complete power over determining who owns what, who will hold which public offices, how the economy will be regulated, what acts will be crimes, and what the punishments criminals should receive. The sovereign is the supreme commander of the army, supreme interpreter of the law, and the supreme interpreter of scripture, with the authority over any national church.
So, in an absolute monarchy, the sovereign, who I assume refers to the king and queen, holds complete power over everything?
Yes, that is exactly what I just said.
Okay, great. Well, Don't go anywhere, folks, because we have one more segment after another short break. And we're back again for our final segment. Make this quick. Just being in the same room as you is making me less intellectual. Well, I just have 3 more questions for you today. First of all, were there any other philosophers that agreed with your ideas?
So no one really fully agreed with any of my ideas. The closest was a man named Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who agreed that there should be a social contract, although he didn't agree with what the social contract should be.
What do you mean?
I mean exactly as I said. Rousseau said in his book, The Social Contract, he said, in the purely civil profession of faith, the sovereign should fix the articles as social sentiments. He stated that there should be a social contract, just as I have stated, though we had different ideas for what this social contract should be.
So if that's the closest there is to someone supporting you, then I assume that many people oppose you.
Oh, yes, many opposed me. The biggest opposition was definitely John Locke. He opposed my idea of the social contract. He stated in his book, 2 Treatises of Government, the state of nature has a law of nature to govern it, which obliges everyone, and the reason which is that law teaches all mankind who will but consult it, that being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. And when his own preservation comes not in competition, ought he, as much as he can, to preserve the rest of mankind, and may not, unless it be to do justice on an offender, take away or impair the life or what tends to the preservation of the life, the liberty, health, limb, or goods of another. He believed in giving the people lots of liberty, and that the social contract should build upon a government, and that limited power and accepted all citizens.
Then I assume you didn't really impact much since most people didn't agree with you.
For the most part, yes, but I did influence someone. Due to the nature of the social contract, it called for a government. The differences between social government contracts was the type of government they called for. My social contract contributed to the social compact theory of government, which eventually influenced the founding fathers to create the American Constitution. My social contract included the idea of inalienable rights, which were later used by the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence and as a basis of the American Constitution.
Oh, wow. Well, that's all the time for today, folks. Thanks for being here. Well, thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to tune in next time. Bye.